My name is Chris Claremont. You're watching Omni X-Men.
And you don't need to say anything more, Chris. I get it. You're a busy guy. I appreciate you for letting us know what's going on, what we're here for tonight. This is Omni X-Men. This is the weekly show jumping between my channel and No Good Comics channel, where we talk about the original Claremont run on Uncanny X-Men. We're on the third omnibus, working our way through towards our finale coming up in June, where we're going to give away a ton of stuff. And if you want to be getting some of that stuff, listen up. We'll tell you how to do that. But let's bring in the man, the partner, Justin No Good Comics. What's up, Justin? He's busy.
Hey, John. How's it going?
You're supposed to have read it already, man. Jeez.
Catch it up.
Is that the first omnibus? Because we're technically going all the way back to the beginning tonight.
No. Ooh. But I do have the first. I did grab the first two, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this breaking this one down.
Yeah. So tonight is a special issue. We're going to talk a little bit about it. It's an unusual one. I actually went and got one that I hadn't had a copy of this since I was a kid. This is Special X-Men #1 with the wraparound Dave Cockrum cover, a reprint of Giant Size X-Men. That book. Right,
I only had the original. I do have that one. I couldn't find it in time. So yeah, it is nice. I love the wraparound.
It's a reprint of Giant Size X-Men, but then some additional material that we will go through and debate as well. But let's bring in our guest. So an absolute major Marvel collector we've got here tonight. A guy who, if you're following him on Instagram, is constantly posting some insane runs of books that he's got in his collection. Back-to-back issues himself. Paul, what is going on?
Thank you, gentlemen. Good evening.
I tell you, your Instagram is dangerous. It's dangerous.
That's a lot to live up to, but I appreciate it.
I've got the link to Paul's Instagram. I got the link to his YouTube, and I put the link to Morbius Comics YouTube as well. Paul and Morbius do a show together pretty much every Tuesday. Hot button topics in the comic community. And thank you for going back to back tonight and doubling down on your YouTube
no
work.
worries.
Dude, remember one of the times where it was me that was the back-to-back, and now it's Paul being the back-to-back?
There's a lot.
Full circle.
You were really doing it. Let's dive into the chat, say hello to some friends, because we got a lot of people hanging out here, starting with Ryan Magic Lasso with his constant comedy. He says hello to Rachel Dinners, Paul, myself, and Justin, and he says, what came before the X-Men? The Seamen. There you go. JP says, why aren't we talking about Professor Xavier being a jerk instead of some special edition reprint? John and Justin are trying to protect Xavier. We're just technically kind of following the order of the omnibus here. We don't get back to Professor Xavier being a jerk for 2 more episodes. We still got an annual where Storm may still become a vampire. I don't know. We got other things happening, so that's just what we do. And is there any comments about me being late? No, there it is. John is late trying to cover for that. Blame right there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We're having a wonderful conversation, and then Justin interrupted it. I don't know what's going on.
Crash the party.
Shout out to Morbius, who had John Big Daddy Ross on for his discussion with Paul as well earlier.
Hey, what's up, John?
Absolutely fantastic debate, and thanks for jumping in there, John. You offered a really great perspective. I thought was really valuable. And boom, there he is. Morbius himself again. His link is in the chat or in the description below. Subscribe over there and you'll get more great comic book talk from these gentlemen. Let's see who else we got. Additional info seems highly unlikely. Get out of here. Adam, what is going on? Good to see you, sir. Keep making stuff up. Candace. We saw Candace over at Morb's channel in the chat as well. Good to see you, Candace.
Nice.
Another great Paul, Big O. What is going on? Good to see you. And let's see, still got a while to go before that Xavier Jerk session. Well, all right. As a reminder, at the end of each of these episodes, we ask you trivia questions. And the goal of asking those trivia questions is to, get on our little spinning wheel we do when we give away a ton of stuff. We're not just looking for correct answers. So if you've got a busy life like all of us do, and you can't read or watch every episode that we do, sometimes just doing something silly in the chat and making our guest laugh can also earn you a spot on the wheel. So stick around to the end. We got fun questions about the previous issue that we read, which is 169, 67?
Seven.
There you go. So we'll talk about that. And of course, subscribing over to Justin's channel as well, because next week we'll be over on his channel. So you want to make sure you're there as well, back and forth as we go rocking and rolling here. What's going on, Mayhem Reaper? Good to see you. All right. So we start off this season getting to know our guests and their interest in X-Men, how that all got started. So Justin, you want to kick us off here with a question for Paul?
Yeah. So Paul, I'm going to jump right to artwork here. Who is your number one favorite artist when it comes to working on the X-Men series or the X-Men run? Or really, I guess we could even say tough, any man. X-Men title.
So tough. It's
so
like
many good ones.
It's like picking your favorite Yankee. It's just
yeah. That's a good
one. But I mean, I'll have to go with Byrne. I mean, Byrne is definitely my favorite. I mean, although in regards to the book we're discussing tonight, I mean, Cockrum is he's like a close. He's right there, you know.
Yeah.
But then I mean, Paul Smith, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri.
I think Silvestri feels like one of the more underrated ones. I know Paul Smith's been getting some popularity of late. I feel like maybe it's just because we've been reading his stuff and hearing more from the chat, but I don't feel like enough people talk about Mark Silvestri.
Yeah, he's kind of stuck. He's like before Lee. He's kind of after like the Byrne and Romita Jr. era. So he
didn't have as much time on it, the book, like Byrne and Cockrum and, you know, some of those other guys did, you know.
And it was a weird period for X-Men a little bit too, you know. The Outback era, you know.
Yep.
It's going to be season 25 for us, John?
25, I think.
Yeah. We get to that.
You guys will get there soon.
Little ways away from me. I'm like, Sylvester, let me look him up.
JP, Justin's gonna be like, oh, I think I remember you mentioning that guy.
Yeah.
So Paul, for me, my question is, do you have like a favorite mutant character? I know that you guys were talking a lot about one gentleman tonight, and he's kind of on the wall behind you. Is it Logan? I'm assuming.
Yeah, no doubt.
What was it about Logan?
I don't know. So my initial comic love was Spidey, probably like a lot of us when we were younger. So I didn't really I recall coming across a Wolverine limited series #2. You know, the cover where he's like diving out at you.
Yeah.
Like a ragtag copy over like a cousin's house or something that I thumbed through. And this was shortly after I started collecting. So like 83, 84. And I don't know, just that splash page in that issue, he's on the wall with Yukio on his back and there's like 100 arrows shooting by, you know, just that cover was awesome. And I was a big Frank Miller fan. I'd already started seeing some of the Daredevil stuff. So I don't know. I mean, just early on, he was pretty mysterious. I mean, unfortunately, they run him into the ground the last decade or so.
They've given you a million origins.
Yeah, it's confusing to say the least. But at that point, you know, in the early 80s, it was still an event when he showed up in a book like Daredevil 196 or the Marvel Team Up 117 with him and Spidey. You know, those were like cool books because, you know, like to track down early in my collecting days. Whereas by the 90s, he was in like everybody's book every other month. Right. He had his own like 3 titles. So, but I don't know. I guess just because he was a badass, he was.
I always felt like it was because his books were guaranteed to be violent. When I was a kid, I was like, somebody's gonna get cut up.
80s like the Punisher of mutants.
Somewhat violent, right? I mean, 80s was all about ninjas. I confess to being a big fan of ninjas and you know, karate movies, Bruce Lee, Kung Fu theater. I used to watch that with my brother. So just the fact that he was kind of a hands-on fighter, he didn't really have superpowers. So to, you know, he wasn't going to blast you with his eyes or fly or anything. You know, he was just going to kick your ass with his hands, you know. So
he wasn't going to stop.
Yeah, it was cool.
What's up, Chet? Good to see you in the chat. How you doing, Sir Paulie of No Slabville?
Absolutely.
I love it. That's fantastic. Justin, do you have any more questions you wanted to ask?
Yeah, one more. Let's talk about story arcs here. So what would be your number one go-to in terms of just a favorite story arc or miniseries of all time when it comes to mutants?
Well, you guys just did a good one. The X-Men Brood in the 160s.
Yeah.
Excuse me, was excellent. I mean, Doc. That again, it's like there's so many good ones, but I would say my favorite. Obviously, I love the original Wolverine mini. That was awesome. and the I don't want to butcher his name, Bill Sienkiewicz. Sienkiewicz-era on New Mutants, like the Demon Bear, all that.
Yes.
That was really like
I don't think enough people mention that one either. That's a great one, yeah.
Yeah, just the art, and that was so like it was like just we'd never seen anything like that at that point, you know. So it was definitely kind of trend-setting and groundbreaking in that regard. But I mean, I'll have to stick with the OG and like excuse me, single issue like X-Men 109.
Oh yeah,
I always love that when like Storm is ready to reprimand him for hunting, and he's like, no, you know, it takes no skill to kill. I just want to get up close enough to it to like pet it, kind of thing, you know. So it was cool.
Nice
when he's running around on the grounds of the mansion. Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah, no,
awesome.
Good issue.
Great. I love it. I love the insight, man. That's fantastic. And again, links for Paul's stuff is all down below, so you guys can follow and subscribe and get more and be blown away by what's going on over there on his Instagram, because it is consistently impressive. So let's dive into this. Again, it's special edition X-Men issue number 1, which has this sort of amazing wraparound Dave Cockrum cover here, throwing back to Giant Size X-Men, which is the majority of this reprint issue. So, Justin, what are your thoughts here on this this cover, this alternate Giant Size X-Men cover?
I think it's a great take on the event that happens, you know, for Giant Size X-Men 1, and especially, I mean, it's certainly more fresh for me since I've, you know, only been reading X-Men for, you know, 3.5 years or whatever it is. But you know, I feel like it was recent that we broke down Giant Size X-Men 1 on this show for Omni X-Men. So just to see another angle of everything, knowing what these panels look like for the first time through reading, I think it's a really creative way to just illustrate again the issue as a whole. So you get everything in it, action packed. Everything you see here, it pretty much happens. You know, in terms of them battling Krakoa, which at that, you know, from this view, you don't know who it is, but I think it's an epic cover, and you know, especially for a wraparound, I feel like you don't see many good wraparound covers nowadays, and so you know, can really appreciate that coming from this special edition.
And you even get a little Kitty Pryde and Ilyana on a computer down
there.
They're computer hacking.
That's right.
Paul, I know you mentioned appreciating Dave Cockrum and his legacy here. What do you? I mean, obviously, Giant Size X-Men has an iconic cover. How does this compare to that for you?
Well, that's tough. I'll still prefer the OG, but
definitely
this cover is great. And you know, looking at it when Justin was talking, I kind of took it in a different way. I guess being able to see it like front and back at once, it's almost like it describes the story, right? Like in the forefront is all the new heroes kind of leading, rescuing the original team,
right, with
Krakoa kind of behind them. You know, I don't know. It kind of describes the whole issue in like one kind of panel, I guess. But
totally.
I mean, it's a great cover, but it's actually, I have a variant. Marvel used this cover on a variant cover on one of the recent X titles.
Really?
I should have dug it out. I don't have. I'll find it for future reference. But
cool.
It's a great cover. It's Cockrum's take. Like I don't. Excuse me. Maybe because he drew the Giants X-Men 1, so it was like his take and the way he draws these characters is how I envisioned like everybody, like they should just all draw them like that, you know, like that. That's kind of their like iconic look, like that's how they always look to me, I guess, you know.
Right. Love that.
William Bird says when this came out, his allowance was $2 a week, so he had to give up buying 3 60-cent comics so that he could buy this one instead.
Yeah, this was
damn
$2. Oh wow.
Yeah, right.
Worth it. It.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So we're gonna start off by discussing a little bit of Giant Size X-Men, and this is the original throw-in art. Here we've got some amazing costumes. Really, that was the launch of this new team, as Paul had kind of mentioned. The old team sort of phasing out, lost somewhere in the Marvel universe. New team having to be rallied together. I kind of wanted these two pages side by side where you get to see them as they are flying at us in that splash page to start the book. But then, of course, the lineup where they're all just kind of there in those new costumes for the first time. I will say, like, this, almost all of my favorite mutants are like here represented. I'm a big fan of this whole crew just for the diversity that you get in attitudes, in action styles, in perspectives on violence versus non-violence. I think the Storm Logan thing, this combo, I think, of personalities is really fantastic.
Like perfect mix of perfect blend of different. Although back to Cochran for 1 second, he does draw a really weird beast all the time.
Yes, I was gonna say that's like the one thing that's jarring to me out of everything.
Even when he appears, I think in X-Men 95, when Count Nefari is gonna,
he's on the screen.
He looks got a long nose.
We talked about. I remember highlighting that. What is going on with this? Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So good thing he wasn't on the team going forward, I guess.
yeah.
He was an Avenger by that point.
So going back, Justin, now looking at these splash pages going in, how now that you've read so much of this run by Claremont, how do these compare for you?
Yeah, I mean, this definitely gives me more of the original vibe. Seeing them in the clothes that they're wearing now. I know they still keep or maintain some, this as we go on, but this, the way they're drawn, I guess, really is what is a staple to, always recognizing them for how we started off this journey of, this show and reading this stuff. So seeing it develop over time, seeing all the crazy things that Kitty Pryde wears and everything else, just knowing that this is like the core here that we're looking at is really cool. And I like that you put them, side by side here. I think it's it's awesome to just see the two of them next.
And some of their costumes don't change it. I mean, Colossus is basically one of those guys whose outfit is really not changed a ton and is often given this costume, much like Nightcrawler, I think, has that similar costume most of his time in the joint. But of course, Storm's had a variety and Wolverine's had a few. Yep. Now, as a Logan fan, Paul, what's your favorite Wolverine costume? I'm assuming it's the Fang one where he killed the guy and took
it. I do, man.
Steals fangs.
No, not that. Fang. That was like the pre-Sabretooth.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But he's give me your clothes.
Probably this outfit. I like the OG with the whiskers, but
right.
This look is cool, even though it doesn't make any sense. He's like this kind of stealthy, badass agent. He's wearing this bright yellow suit. But actually, you speaking of Colossus, I just noticed something. Only because you have the images next to each other. If you look at the splash page, he's running. His legs are exposed, his thighs. But where he's standing there next to Storm, they're blue. So I'm assuming that was a coloring error. I'm guessing.
Who knows, right? But maybe. You're totally correct. And they don't have the metal lines going across the thigh, right? But later
I thought he was wearing tights essentially or something.
But when he transforms to metal, they turn to metal. So it's a great point. Absolutely. Yeah. Some of those unstable molecules, says William.
You never trust those things.
Before we go any further, though, I want to ask this question. And both of you, read a bunch of this stuff, a bunch of this stuff. But for me, I remember back when I would see these books on the shelf, when I would see them, as the wall books in the shop. Giant Size X-Men was the joke book. It was nobody wanted it. It was cheap. It was garbagey. Everybody wanted issue 94. And Giant Size wasn't treated like an annual. It was not treated with the value. And as a kid and as a collector, 94 held so much more value and mystique for me. And when I first started buying big boy comics, 94 was the first thing I went and got. And it was that's the book. And it's taken me a long time to get to a place where I can actually value this beyond the story. Even as a story, it feels like it's separate. You don't even need it. You can just dive into 94 and go. Paul, was that you? Was it similar for you when you were collecting?
I have to say, I always kind of coveted Giants of X-Men 1 because I didn't really see it a lot, at least in my shops in Rhode Island. And I've always been a fan of giant size kind of square bound books. I always like the old Marvel Tales, the Marvel collector's item classics, and Marvel superhero stuff. So any square, at one point, excuse me, I was trying to collect, which I probably had more or less every giant, not square bound Marvel, of the giant size line Marvels. I pretty much had.
They did king size Avengers.
And I just loved. I don't know. I just like more bang for your buck, whatever it was. I just like the square bound format. So, but yes, I'm still one of the few people apparently that still buys the Overstreet price guide. So, and I've been buying it for like 30 something years. But back in the day, in the guide, 94 was like the superior.
It was always the more expensive book, always the one on the wall.
Which in retrospect doesn't make sense. But
you could find giant size in bins in some cases. It was not necessarily a wall book the way that 94 was.
Yeah.
I don't know. Justin, I know you had an interesting journey with this because you read 94 first and then went back and didn't realize that giant size was a thing.
Yep.
So now that you've read both a few times, you've gone through this journey. Where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like you said, I started with 94 when I like decided, okay, all this hype about X-Men, let me just start reading some of Claremont stuff and see where it takes me. Like going through the Marvel app and everything, like that's where it first started, like 94. It dropped me at 94. Right. So I'm like, okay, like this makes sense, right? So I just started reading. It wasn't until I think after I read 95 or 96, I think I might have read 2 or 3 issues before I actually went back to Giant Size X-Men. And saying like, okay, so I don't know what it was that made me realize, or doing research or looking back, but I'm like, okay, actually, I should have started here. Maybe there might have been a reference. Maybe
I was gonna say it might have been one of those like previously.
Yeah, see Giant Size. Yeah. So that's where I was like, okay, let me go back and like, yeah, I mean, I definitely. Obviously, the way it introduces the team is so special, and and I know
just when I started to like John, he posts shit like this.
Like, yeah.
What the hell? What are you doing to me?
25 cents.
25 cents.
That is nuts.
Wow.
I have to say though, with Paul, with what you were saying, and this is just something in me now, like I'm just like I find myself pulled to more is the giant size books and the annuals, the king size annual books. John, when every time we talk about an annual on Omni X-Men, to me, I find myself rating it at like a 9.4 rating or better. I love them because they're just like movies. Like they're, obviously they're standalone for the most part, right? And you can just like, get lost in them. So I always find myself, falling in love with these. So I've been buying more of them. I just bought I just found a copy of issue 2, giant size number 2 recently over at Zap. So, but Paul, to your point, like, something about like, the square bound and like all that stuff you look for, even just like, all right, it can't just be flat or bent over or whatever. Like it's got to be nice. And then, and then the story and everything else. So.
Well, and I think one thing that you did mention as well is the reason why on the app it probably did the way it did with you was the other main reason this book never was the book for me is Claremont didn't write this. Like, and a lot of people forget that. A lot of people who don't read it don't realize, your guy who created Wolverine wrote this, right? Len Wein. Is it Wein? Am I saying it right?
Wayne.
I always said it that way.
He's the writer here, and I think a lot of times people either give Chris Claremont credit when he shouldn't get it. Or in my case, it was like, oh, he didn't write that one. It's not part of his run. Like somebody else just wrote this annual to get things going, but Claremont starts here. And as a Claremont guy, that was the jam for me.
Yeah.
What is up? Good to see you, Daryl. And I did say hello to Fable. What's up, Fable Station?
I do agree. Like putting like 94. I mean, I feel like the core 3, if I had to choose for X-Men books, would be obviously X-Men 1, the original, and then Giant Size, and also 94. Not so
you skipped ahead to my question. If you were going to rank, no, I love this. If you were going to rank X-Men books, not like based on value, but based on value to you, the reader, the collector, right? Justin, what would be your 3? What would be your top 3?
Oh man, it's tough. I feel like I have to go 94 first, as that was just my introduction. Quickly followed by Giant Size X-Men, and then X-Men 1 is kind of there as the third out of those 3 at least, which might sound weird. And I know monetary wise, it's definitely opposite. But see,
I love throwing that portion out. The second you throw money out, and you're looking at it as the reader, as the collector. I think there's a whole new layer to that I think is kind of interesting.
Oh, totally. One more to add, I think, as my 4th, if I had a 4th, and I'm in the hunt for this right now, is Hulk 180. That's that'll be my next gem that I have. And if we have go ahead. I'll say if we had a 5th, then of course 181 would be right behind it. But 180, that's the first one.
All right. What about you, Paul?
Number one is this book, no doubt. Well, Giants and X-Men one, the real deal. That's just and if it was worthless, which I wish it was, because I maybe have like
you just buy a bunch of them. You'd be like Sove collector with all his Ghost Riders he used to own.
Exactly. I'll get a Claremont sketch on like a splash page or something. So this is number one, no doubt. I'm going to keep it just X-Men because I know Hulk 180, 181 is X-Men affiliated, but
yeah, you can
I'll say
this guy. He's a knucklehead.
Yeah. This issue, no doubt, 109, one of my favorite single issues. Probably the Wolverine-centric issues are going to be ultimately my favorites. And I always loved 120, 121 with Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not like ultra key to like X-Men mythos, but they're just a great read. I mean, just that era of X-Men is like supreme. So
yeah, there's not a lot of losers in that whole era, right? When you get into especially the Burn stuff, it's what are you gonna do?
Yep.
Yeah, for me, it's
94. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just like 94 to me was never really. I don't know. The cover is just it's cool and iconic, but it's just not. Maybe because they're fighting like a villain that's like not really an X-Men villain. I don't know. Just
they stole it from the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great issue, but I'm just I wouldn't have it like on the Mount Rushmore, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, 101 is going to sneak in there probably as my third pick, just because I just that's my favorite comic book cover of all time. I just absolutely adore it. But to your point, Paul, for straight reads, 95 is actually a phenomenal read. And one of my favorite early reads. And then it's 94 is probably the number one spot. And I don't know where Giant Size fits into all this. As much as I love it, it was never the book. And I think I still hold it against it. I just it's the neglected stepchild.
Holding a grudge.
I do. I really do. Ken says, I definitely want to see the final build. Ooh, what are you building? John is built. Oh, he's doing a Ghost Rider bike. Oh,
nice.
Exciting.
Cool.
Chet says that 94 through 143 should be slapped. Paul's giving the thumbs down.
It's tough to read that way, but I guess
129 is a great book as well, JP. I think
yeah, 129 is a great.
Too many people know about my love.
I just threw that one up. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's continue along here. The book, of course, introduces many great mutants for the very first time, or in the case of Wolverine, the third, fourth, fifth time.
In flux.
Right. So here we've got the two of the most iconic characters, Nightcrawler and Wolverine. Paul, of course, they couldn't go back and recapture all the 180, 181, 182 information. But I know you wanted me to make sure I included the sequence with him and the Canadian military gentleman.
Yeah, that was that whole sequence is great. You know, who's the big wig you want me to meet? You know, it just that kind of encapsulates Wolverine for me. You know, that, and I've always wanted to go into my boss and be like, I resign my commission effective immediately, and like rip his tie off or something. But honestly speaking, I've been at my company for like 25 years. I guess I'm never doing that. But no, it was cool, right? Because it showed you his connections, like, which they don't really. I don't think there's no like see Hulk 181 or anything in here, right?
No, they don't mention any.
So they don't really mention it, but you can clearly see he's some kind of an agent working for the Canadian government. You know, some covert thing, and he's kind of tired of it, I guess. Or if you read Original Sin like 10 years ago and 15 years ago, and now they make it like I guess Xavier messed with his mind. But anyway, we'll keep it to the original continuity that
right.
He just was looking for a change.
Plus, you get the like pointy claw, not the thin sharp claw. It's like the pointy claw.
I know, it's like weird. My two favorite artists, like Frank Miller and John Byrne, both had completely different style of drawing his claw.
Which I love it. I love it.
Like Miller's were like those flat blade, like, and Byrne always drew them just little, like, you know, round, like, you know, stakes, basically.
Totally. So Justin, going back now, looking at these, the first appearances of Nightcrawler here, and the first time Logan is in an X-Men book. What are your thoughts on these characters?
Yeah, like rereading some of this stuff, I was like waiting for, like Banff, which I know we don't get that
Nope.
yet. So little things like that that kind of stood out to me on this this second time around, or third, afterwards. But yeah, otherwise, like still very, very exciting for Nightcrawler, what he's going through. And it kind of sums up a lot of just the issues he still continues to deal with in terms of being judged and viewed from the outside world as a monster and everything else. And meanwhile, he's peaceful and he's trying to figure out, he just wants to be left alone. So this captures that perfectly. And then like everything that Wolverine is just sums up in these 2 panels here, just pushing this guy off, cutting his tie off or whatever, getting close to his face like that. Like, yeah, love
so
it.
Good.
Yeah.
Don't worry, JP. We're not going page by page through Giant Size. We're not redoing Giant Size. I'm just highlighting some of the key moments, buddy. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. So let's get to Storm. Got to have all those Storm pages. Let's pause here for a nice long time and enjoy the goddess herself flying among the sky. I will say this is among my favorite work by Cockrum, not just because of Scantily Clad Storm. The backgrounds, the blues, the blacks, the purples, the whites, the way he is able to like create wind, and her hair, of course, just like, ill-placed, but amazing hair. I think it's really just a testament to Cockrum really being able to nail that. What is up, Cali Comics? I almost cussed my first comment. Hey, I get it. I feel you. So first time you saw Storm, Paul, the first time you see this character come flying, I feel like she holds the page down for me.
No doubt. Obviously, Storm had a really big impact on my life, but now Storm is these people, and I don't know who was in editorial, but great call. Many panels of Storm and 2 for Banshee. Like, just, hey, you want to join us? Yeah, I'm in.
Yep. They'll do it a little bit. In a little bit, they'll do the same thing to Sunfire.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, they know him already. Let's get the hottie and give her several pages.
But again, these is like it's like two pages essentially, and it basically captures like the whole. What it is. She's a mutant clearly, but she's using her powers to help her people, and drought relief, and so they look at her as like a god, even though she's as Professor X tells her, you're a mutant.
Well, because
kind of knocks her down
like the wet season, brings it down. The weather has such an impact on that continent that a person who could control it would definitely be seen that way. What is
like, sorry, miss, you're not a goddess, you're a mutant. Relax. He slapped her down a little bit.
He pretty much did.
Justin, going back now, we've seen Storm go through several key moments in her life, evolve to this almost mother-like figure with Kitty, going back to this very youthful, childlike version of her. Do you feel like you can see the beginnings of her growth or character?
Oh, definitely. I mean, right off the bat, as she's talking to the people who are praying to her and asking for rain and saying how they'll offer up, what is it, like the animals or whatever it is that they're I forget what it was that they offered, but she basically says like, don't waste your time, like keep your cattle, keep your food, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
goats and chickens.
Goats, yeah. She's like they were going to offer all that up, and even that she just wants to do good for the people essentially, and so she's like, don't even worry about that. Like you're going to need it, and so I feel like that just really launched, again, everything that she stands for, even through now, as we see her struggle with death or killing with like the Brood even and things like that, like, through this past saga, like a lot of that still stands true to her, to where we're at right now.
For sure.
So yeah, I think it was a great way to lead in with it for her.
Totally. All right. Don't worry. I did not skip Colossus. He's coming up here, but we're going to finish Storm off. She still gets a couple more panels on the next page. Yeah. And then we get the 2 panels for Sunfire before we move on. But Justin, you wanted me to highlight the journey of this guy, Sunfire. Gosh, I keep doing it.
Yeah.
He hits so many wrong notes in one book. It's kind of impressive, right?
The ridiculousness that he is throughout this. And I remember the first time reading this through and even talking with you about it and breaking it down, like I just kept asking, like, what is this guy's deal? Like, what is his deal? Like, he literally, like, no one bothers him, and he's just snappy and just like, that top right panel,
I've covered it with my logo,
far from us. Yeah, like that. So that takes place right after the panels that you had shown where they all are in their new uniforms and everything else.
Yeah.
And so Professor X is like telling him the plan, and here's why you're here and all this stuff. And he just comes right at him, pointing his finger, and he goes, "Right now, you will tell us why you dragged us here, Professor." He's like, "I, for one, am swiftly losing my patience." After this like epic moment of like the team being together, and he's just yelling at him. And
the last time we saw him was him saying, "I owe you nothing, Professor.
Yeah.
But perhaps I owe something to myself." And then he's like, "Perhaps it is time for me to once more the world to hear from Sunfire." So he's happy to go. He is. I'm going to New York, very happy. And then he gets there and he's like, "Tell me why." I'm
thinking like bipolar or something.
Yeah, very, very much so.
And then the other part, which is more in the middle of the panels that you have there, when he's talking with Cyclops and going back and forth with Wolverine, he goes, or what does he go? Let's see. So now we go back to Krakoa. Yeah, incorrect, Cyclops. Now you go back to Krakoa, not I. I will have no part in this fool's errand. What? And like, so he denies the whole thing, and then right afterwards flies back, and he's like, "Do I have to fly there myself?" And they're like, "What, dude? You just said you weren't coming with us, and now you're like complaining that you're not on the ship with us."
It's
like,
so good.
It's great. And he even yells at like Nightcrawler, like he like gives Nightcrawler crap, and he's like, "Oh, what made you change your mind?" And he's like, "None of your business. Like, reasons not your concern," as he says. But yeah, he's so snappy, like for no reason.
Bobby De La Ghetto, what's going on, Bobby?
So had to highlight that.
That's very funny. I don't know, Paul, if you ever had an affinity for Sunfire, but I think this issue definitely would turn anybody who was off.
Not one. He's generally a dick, basically. So
yeah,
I mean, essentially had like one. Well, he first appeared X-Men 64.
Yeah,
and I think he was in a couple of issues of Submariner prior to this. So it's not like he had like at this point this like extensive publication history. So I don't know if Len Weins was like, "I'm just gonna play him as a jerk," I just or whatever,
Right.
That, and ironically or whatever, I mean, it just him and Thunderbird kind of had similar personalities.
Right. And then neither one of them long for X-Men.
Yeah, very true.
Bad karma with both of them. One left and the other one was leaving on a jet plane.
It's a good way to put it.
Well, we'll continue along here a little bit. We got this is when we get to see the other half of that argument you were talking about, where Sunfire comes right back and he's like, they're like, "Wait, didn't you just? I thought you just left." He's like, "No, let me back in. Open the hatch now. When do you expect me to fly all the way to Krakoa by myself? My reasons are nobody's business but my own."
Yeah, Nightcrawler's just like checking in on him, like, "Hey, you all right? Like, what made you change your mind?"
But then we also, of course, have Proud Star himself wrestling Bison.
That scene that you had this not scene, but the panel where he's actually tackling or pulling down the bike. Yeah, I was actually hoping that you'd put up the picture of from Dodgeball where White do you remember he has a picture of himself pulling down a bull? Wrestling. And he's like yeah
I literally took the bull by the horns.
Yeah, he's like, that actually happened. I'm like, that's definitely him.
I mean, there you go. JP says Sunfire quickly realized that he shouldn't be listening to Professor X and Cyclops. I'm telling you, he was right. He was ahead of his time.
I think in retrospect, there's no doubt Professor X was a little mind control on Sunfire to get him to join, because he clearly didn't want to be there.
Same with Thunderbird. Like, he kind of talks to me. He kind of like actually he plays more to his ego, if anything. He's like, "Oh, okay, if you're scared or whatever, like, no, I'll come. I'll show you."
Oh goodness. So then we
wrestling down a bison. I mean, it's just like that's.
And then I wanted to slow down on this guy. Obviously, not only are we getting the first appearance of Colossus, we get his little baby sister thrown in there as well. And Justin, you said, I want this panel right here where you see him first turning into his metal form. What do you like about this one?
too. I'll forever have these in my mind when it comes to thinking about like seeing the first time that we see Colossus and his transformation. And I have to say, I mean, you guys know I'm for the most part, I'm a digital reader. It's how I've kind of gotten into this hobby. But when I first read Giant Size X-Men, I read it digitally, and just seeing these 3 panels right here go 1, 2, and 3 for the first time was just incredible. Like, it was so cool to just see the one panel swipe, and then like this blur and yellow and what's going on, swipe, and then boom, you just get hit with Colossus the way that you do there with the arm coming across, like,
and coming out of he's even coming out of the panel.
Yeah. You have it going over the lining there. It definitely, like, just it stands out so much. And the experience that I have, from remember just reading it like that, was awesome. So definitely.
What's up, Trev?
Yes, stays with you when you read it like that, and just in general, just seeing these panels as a whole, it's awesome. So.
Yeah, I hate when my tractor gets away from me too, Bobby. It's the worst, right? Those runaway tractors, you gotta watch out. It gets bug wild. Now, obviously, Paul, I think it's ridiculous that this is Ileana's first appearance, but like, because it's like silly. But like, here she is,
They had to age her up. Claremont came up with a pretty creative way to do that, I guess.
Right? If only they had done it for Kitty Pryde, it would have cured a lot of awkward romance stuff. Give Kitty a couple you're throwing out years, just give Kitty 5-6 years.
At least 2 or 3, something.
Everybody could have benefited. Wouldn't have to call social services.
I'm thinking Jeremy Renner wishes he was playing Colossus instead of Hawkeye, though.
Oh,
that's a great. I mean, because the tractor falling over, he could have like saved his trying to protect his kid.
Yeah.
Ouch. Too soon, Paul. Too soon.
I think it was his neighbor. I don't think it was his kid.
No, it was. I don't know.
His runaway plow, runaway tractor. I don't know. I thought it fit.
It does. It absolutely does.
But actually, as an aside, though, back to favorite artist, Cockrum definitely draws the best Colossus. And I don't know if it's the way it's colored too. I don't know. It looks like, I like the sheen to him, I guess. The way they do the blue with it. I don't know. I always like the way he drew Colossus. Maybe he draws a good flat top, I guess.
It's magic, buddy. Oh, it's magic. Right there on the page. It's happening.
Magic with a K.
Right? And I will say, I also like the way, and we reference this a ton, the really vibrant backgrounds that they often use color-wise. The purples, the oranges, the pinks, like the pop, they really just pop.
I think the coloring in general looks much better in this book than like an original Giant Size X-Men one. Just because it's like on that thicker, what they call it, the Baxter paper. The colors just look really deep in this.
I will agree. I will definitely agree.
Is it like a gloss? Is it like a gloss paper?
No, it's not.
It's kind of like a matte, like a thick matte, I guess, kind of paper.
Let's see here. McLeod says McLeod drew his best Colossus. Oh, those are fighting words, Chet. So then, yes, we also have the first appearance of Krakoa, the living island.
Look at
and
that
of
splash.
Course, I've got to have a lot of lost gifts for something like that. Anytime you have people trying to survive on an island, there you go. But yeah, we go there because the original team was captured, right? But this is really just the creation of the mythology for the island, which goes on and has a long history in X-Men comics before, of course, Hickman and his era took it in a whole new space. Because it's kind of treated more like a kaiju here. Paul, is this an iteration of Krakoa that you kind of dig on? Because I mean, I always loved it as a monster.
I do. It's almost like a throwback to like the pre-hero Marvel books with the Kirby covers and Fing Fang Foom and Groot and stuff.
Right?
Just the big kind of giant muck monsters and lizards. So it definitely. But I mean, look at that visual though. I mean, that's like, I like the brain forming with the eyes. Like that's just like that's just badass.
Yep.
And now, Justin, now you've seen a lot of Krakoa.
Yeah.
It's hard to sometimes jive this with what we have nowadays.
Right. I mean, I picture even the tree in the newer stuff, just the single,
the one that Doug's always talking to.
Doug's talking to. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I definitely will. This, clearly stands out to me and is part of just everything that we've been following up on. So really interesting take on it, and good point there, Paul, about kind of like almost like an homage to the monster type art styles of times before this one. It's a good point.
Sure. What is up, brother Joe? Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Joe.
And Norin Rad, I saw you in the chat over on Morb's channel. Good to see you, sir. Hope your evening's going right. We also have some drama going on here with Polaris and Havoc and the original team sort of fracturing, because part of the purpose of Giant Size was to send those characters off onto their own journeys and explain why they wouldn't stick around. Justin, was this the first time you'd read anything with Polaris at this point?
Yeah. Yep. Anything with Polaris. And I mean, I'm trying to think. Yeah. Cause they weren't in,
because they hadn't shown up. I don't think they're in 94 through whatever.
So 97 is when we see Havoc.
97. Yeah. The brothers. Head cover.
So the main reason I wanted to or that I sent you that particular panel is actually just the artwork, the style of it. You had mentioned earlier about the storm images with the rain.
Mm-hmm.
I think that these illustrate such a great detail of representing us, being in this storm and the rain that's coming down, and yet still seeing it clearly of everything. And I just love how Lorna's face is drawn there, like the emotion that's coming out of her, and the detail of like just her face and her lips and everything else, like so good. Between that and then you obviously have Havoc there on the far side, and again, rain coming down. It just seems it's so clear though, like it's just really well done. So and I just feel like, I don't know, I guess for this era especially, like this stood out to me so much, and to get these nice like close-ups from some of these panels, just incredible.
Callie agrees with you. We're loving the rain panels.
Yep.
And he doesn't draw Lorna and Havoc in costume a ton, Cockrum, but definitely does a solid job with the original team. I feel like lots of good detail work. And then then we end up with the island just flying away into outer space. Kind of an interesting end to the issue. Bye, Krakoa. See you later. So there you go, JP. I've already finished the issue. It wasn't so giant in the end. It was a lot less giant than we remembered. For me, like this is the impressive artwork of that time. You look at how much time was probably spent on that giant tidal wave, or how much time was spent on the island as it's floating away. Like the line work is epic in this issue. And I know that Paul, you mentioned just an appreciation for Cockrum, who I think really does hit the ground running with a whole new slew of characters and a really complicated giant size story.
So I'm saying it's extra pages. So it was like a lot to draw, and he put such effort and detail. I mean, they try to portray it as like, well, they were just trying a new thing with a new team, like an international X-Men, but it's like, man, this guy poured his like soul into the story, the art.
Right. So my issue of this, so just in case anybody doesn't actually have the issue that Paul and I were reading for this, the black and white drawing that's on the far side there is on the inside cover. So that's where in the digital version, it's kind of in the middle somewhere, in between the two stories that we're reading. And I don't remember where it is in the omnibus, but it's
just right after the cover.
Yeah, it's an included little bit with some writing from Louise, just letting everybody know about what Dave Cockrum and had done with this book. Although they credit Claremont, but they don't mention Len, which I think was kind of odd. I don't know if anybody felt that way about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't really.
So it's at the beginning of the Omni, so I guess it goes right where it belongs at the beginning of the story. But they don't include the giant size in the Omni. So giant size X-Men isn't. If you're reading the omnibus along with us, you're like, wait, you guys spent a lot of time talking about giant size X-Men. It's not even in the omnibus.
It's not in it. Yeah,
but there it is. I don't know. I just thought it would have been nice to at least have a little credit for Len for doing this issue, but maybe that's just
right.
Yeah.
Come on, Louise, get it together.
So I do feel like they should have put the actual story in the omnibus. I'm kind of surprised.
So the omnibus doesn't have it doesn't have the GSX1 part. It's just
it's just the follow-up story that we're going to do here in a second.
Yeah, I find that to be weird, especially because it is an issue. Like, it has a title. It's called the Special Edition X-Men 1.
Yep.
Like that as a whole should just be included in the omnibus. And I'm surprised.
That's crazy that these things are in that omnibus though. So does it have like the Obnoxio, the clown versus the X-Men in the X-Men?
Not in this one.
I think
X-Men at the Texas State Fair and some of those other one-off.
They tend to put stuff in chronologically. So like we're going to get the Magic miniseries and the Wolverine miniseries that you mentioned earlier, like in this omnibus where they happened in the early 80s.
Maybe volume 4 for some of them.
So yeah. But like this one is it, this one's going to have God Loves Man Kills and things like that.
Excellent.
Let's see here. So JP, what's new? You gotta see, we just put your pants back on, man.
Yeah.
So this is what's new. We've got this Chris Claremont written additional story with some Dave Cockrum combo art with someone named Hilary Barta, who I'm not familiar with. But it's basically just a day in the life of Kitty Pryde and Ilyana Rasputin as they kind of become better friends and tour the X-Men mansion together. We start with Kitty trying to work out some frustration, probably because she's still mad at what Xavier said to her in the last issue about not being an X-Man anymore. So she's trying to work out in the danger room and doing her cool gymnastics, and she eats it, and Ileana's there to try to make her feel better. Hey, how's it going? I will say I can't stand this picture. This artwork is so the face is so weird.
Yeah, it's like Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters.
Sigourney would be an upgrade. I don't know what this is. I don't know what
those eyes. Yeah, I don't know. He was. This is 80s Cockrum, not quite the same as 70s Cockrum.
Well, I also wonder how much played into this Hilary Barta that you mentioned before too. I'm always curious when I see two artists on books. I mean, I understand sometimes it could mean that one just does the layouts and then the other does the details. Sometimes they literally split, 70% of the pages versus 30, or I don't know, or sometimes maybe they just do the backgrounds versus the foreground stuff. I don't know. So I'm curious what is, what did Barta
how did the job duties split? Yeah.
Because like I like the further middle panel with the red background and her reaching for the bar. Like I like that perspective of the angle that we're getting and the detail of that.
Yeah.
I think is well done. Yeah. Like everything else is, I guess, just is what it is. But yeah, the eyes on this one definitely
the hair
give me that. Yeah, the hair, like the eyebrows, like
there's some great comments.
35 years older, so she's been like on a bender.
William Bird says, I love all the Baxter paper special edition comics that Marvel put out during this time because trades weren't really a thing. That's a great point. And these were opportunities.
We mentioned earlier, but this is probably the first time I read Giant Says X-Men 1 was probably this book.
Yeah, because we weren't to the classic X-Men era yet.
Yeah, I think that was like 86, and this is, what is this one?
83. 83,
so
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had this before a classic X-Men 1 came out.
Callie asks, does the omnibus have the covers as you read or just only on the sleeve? The covers are included. Yeah, the covers are there on the inside. So this has Justin's holding up. Sorry, here's the spread page version of the wraparound cover, I should say.
Yeah.
Here it says, hey, where are the kids having their bagels for breakfast? No, this is not the Saturday morning show. Get out of here. Come on, buddy. So you went wait, you spent an hour on something that's not actually in the Omni. You really are avoiding calling Xavier a jerk. I'm just gonna keep going. Bo Jack, is that a Bo Jackson reference in our chat? These are my people. Holy crap. Doing your girl dirty with dirty faces. I mean, let's be honest. Classic X-Men 1 isn't a giant size reprint anyway.
I don't know about that.
That's a bold take. It's a bold take.
Yeah.
That would, I mean, I don't know. I'm not even going to debate that one. But let's keep going. Kitty Pryde, you're okay. I'm going to take care of you. All things are good. let's wander through this place and I'll give you a tour. This is the most ridiculous part of this whole sequence here. Let me give you a tour of the mansion. I'm going to float away from you right now.
Yeah. See,
wait, you're ditching me. What is happening here? Kitty goes up into the control room.
Yeah.
She's like, let me show you how the danger room works. I'm not going to try to kill you. I'm going to go a different route with the danger room. I'm going to show you how trippy. This is what I do when I've smoked some weed and I hang out in the danger room. I just make the cosmos. I make the universe. And then she's like, that was cool. Okay, let's go and invade everybody's privacy now. Okay. And so they start a tour to go and look in everybody's rooms when they're not there. Justin, did this feel like an invasion of privacy at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's Kitty just being Kitty and just kind of, blindly going through things. And obviously, she means well. She's excited, I was concerned with, I know as we just came off the last issue, I wasn't 100% sure that where we picked up here was supposed to represent coming right off of that last
Probably
issue.
not.
But I was wondering, it does give you, those details from the last panel of just like, clearly something's wrong. Like she doesn't feel sick, like physically, but, kind of talks about things are on her mind. And I'm like, well, where's this going? And then to see this kind of come in and her give the tour, I will say I do kind of like the tour. Like I kind of like getting a little bit more detail of the specifics of where everything is in the mansion, how certain things work. I know we get the generalized sense, but they go a little bit more detail in like the hallway and like how the rooms are set up separately and what's used for what. And really things have changed around a little bit. Like she mentions that training, the danger room is downstairs now. It used to be, I don't know if we get to it here, but where she's like, yeah, it used to be anybody could just walk in and you just be, part of the danger room. Now, they moved it downstairs so you don't disrupt upstairs, and it's a little bit more safer and it's contained. Right. So I don't know. I kind of like that they took time to explain that. And I guess, especially for someone who might be newer or might be just jumping in for the first time, this is a nice little, add on to creating more of that world to picture.
Sure.
So,
well, I think that to your point, that's probably the function they imagined that this book would serve is to people like Paul who never read Giant Size X-Men, didn't have a chance to read it, could read this and get a tour of the mansion and get to know some of the cute young ladies who are living there and be like, yeah, maybe I'll check out an issue of Uncanny X-Men.
Yep. Yeah. Sell them.
I mean, it would have hooked me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I like how I'm sure we're getting there, but like they go in everybody's room and everybody's room is like, like Nightcrawler's has got like the jungle gym and stuff.
Let's get in there. Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
Here's Storm's room.
Full of vegetation and plants and stuff. So it's cool.
Yep. Which we don't get, like, we don't see that a lot. Like we knew, we kind of had that idea that, we have seen a couple times Storm's room or whatever when she comes home and stuff. But I just like that it kind of keeps it up, it just continues that world building, I guess, essentially. And remembering like, oh yeah, that's right. When Storm's home, like she's up in the attic, she chose that and she, has all these flowers and stuff. So yeah, I like that it kind of adds, onto that.
Bobby has really solved a lot of the problems I have with this issue. He says, living with people who can read your minds, I think it's okay if we look in their rooms.
Yeah, true.
There are no boundaries anymore.
There's no privacy here. Yeah.
It's an illusion. There's some debate on what what Classic X-Men #1 has. I'll have to pull my Classic X-Men issue #1 out and really look at it. I thought it was the full story and then 4 extra pages.
I thought it was too, but I guess it's been.
So I'm going to go back, and if you're wrong, Daryl, I'm calling you out tomorrow on Instagram. You're going to get read your. I'm going to quote hashtag read your comics and really get into it. What is that? JP says, is a tour of this place worthwhile? It gets destroyed and rebuilt every couple of months, so I'm sure it changes. Yeah, that was me when Justin was like, oh, they told us that they moved it's easy to move these things when you're always blowing it up. Having to move. Yeah,
I don't think cool. Not quite as much back in this era, I don't think.
No. Well, they did joke, I think, that it's been destroyed 3 times, I think, since this new team has come around.
Yeah.
I know in like the last in like the last decade. They haven't even been in the mansion. They were in Utopia, and then they were, they've been.
It's a busy
Alcatraz.
Screen.
Yeah.
You gotta zoom in on your phone and get really in there.
Cockrum, he really did pack in these little panels with a lot of detail, though.
Yeah, he did. Correction when I'm right here.
He's right on Giants Classic X-Men #1. We're gonna find out. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna print my retraction. Sure.
I got a whole run of Classic X-Men. I'll dig them out.
No wheelchair ramps needed when you have the Phoenix who can float you around everywhere. Now we're going to look in Kitty's room where they're like, let's get on swimsuits and go do the normal X-Men stuff of like swimming in the pool or putting on full scuba gear and diving down to where there's a water entrance to the Blackbird. It's happening in this place.
Party Central.
This is bonkers.
You got the Muppets there on her bed. You see the little Muppets?
Completely rational.
Yep.
Yeah, the Garfield poster.
Yep. I did take some time to really like look through some of this stuff. You got Star Wars in the background, Star Wars poster for Empire Strikes Back there. Yep. ET right beneath it.
Right.
I
can't tell who the guy is with the mustache and the white hair.
Oh yeah.
The next to the star, this
I'm not sure.
This guy right next to me with the yellow poster. Like,
I don't know what that's supposed to be or who that's.
So, I don't know that I can read it closely enough.
Barney Miller.
I hope it's not Barney. It's Burt. You think it's Burt Reynolds? Callie thinks it's Burt Reynolds. I mean, I feel like she's a little young for Burt, but maybe.
I guess, although I don't think he had.
I know he was he was a sex symbol at the time. I don't think he had white hair at that point.
He didn't have yet. No,
it's not Magnum. Magnum never had white hair. What is wrong with you? Get out of here, Bobby.
Maybe that's the young Professor X. Maybe no.
Something's wrong with you guys. Sonny and Cher, you guys are out of control. And then we get the creepy guy. We know who it is, but like the bald guy with the computer, I was legitimately looking for a Bond villain gif where they're like looking at Bond on a computer monitor of the bald head in the background.
Yeah,
that creepy Professor Xavier. I'm watching the youngest girls at my school get in and out of their swimsuits and go swimming.
Yep,
awkward.
Very.
Paul, I'm just curious. Like, I'm not I'm not a complete Xavier hater, but goddamn, this guy, he really makes some questionable choices.
And right from the beginning, excuse me, if you go back and read it, like in the original X-Men #3, he's having some impure thoughts about Jean that he probably shouldn't be having. So he's definitely started early on, and then they kind of just brushed over and forgot about. He wanted to
that's when you realize as a writer you made a mistake, and we're just going to act like we never did it.
I mean, it was early 60s. Stan was just throwing everything out there to see what would stick, and I guess.
You look back now and you're like, so she is the most powerful telepath in the world, in the universe. Yeah. And you're thinking these thoughts right next to her. Like,
probably not a good idea.
Not a good call. Always a creeper, Xavier. Always. Tessa, I'm gonna make sure you I'm gonna get you a Burt Reynolds poster. I'm gonna make that happen. It's not a Deliverance poster. Callie, get out of here! You're killing me. You think this teenage girl's got a Deliverance poster? Something's wrong. So then, they get back inside. They've got henchman gear. I don't know. They look like they're gonna go work for a Bond villain.
It's like
blow drying the hair.
Yeah, it does.
Getting all jazzed up. And then gonna go on a roller coaster ride. That's they've got this little apparently tube system. Take them all around. I'm learning stuff about the mansion that I don't remember. I don't know if you guys felt like you knew this stuff.
Yeah, no, I like some of the technology that they showed for, even the projection of the screen and stuff and location, like of where everything is, the top view, like all that stuff. I thought that was cool. I mean, it's not like too detailed, but just to give you, as a reader, just the perspective of like, okay, mansion has been revamped and it's got everything. I like it.
It's like a little Disneyland. It's like underneath Disneyland. They got all those little tunnels, right? Now the mansion's got the same thing, right, Paul? You can get to you can probably get to the Baxter building now.
Yeah, no, it's just like complete underground monorail, interconnected system. But I mean, just going back to even the pages of the rooms, and everybody's room is kind of like tailored to I don't know, man. It just made me as a kid like, man, I want to live in this place.
Right?
Like, I want to break bread with these people. Let's go have a softball game or whatever they usually do.
It's always softball and then a swimming session.
Yeah,
and then someone attacks.
Exactly.
Epic battle.
What is up, Toby? Good to see you, sir. You're the fourth amigo. We got Paul with us tonight.
So I
I
like.
don't know this Micronaut story, but now
Yeah,
I'm very concerned and scared to read it, William.
I do have that mini. I'll have to dig that out. I don't recall that. But,
apparently we all have a lot to read now.
Jeez.
Bobby says it's the Underground Railroad to smuggle mutants out. They smuggle them in.
So I like that also on these pages they reference, or Kitty references 143 when she's attacked by the alien and
the
her
creature,
the
and she has to get in the Blackbird, and
because she's like, I almost I destroyed the mansion a little while back, and they kind of work things out, and don't worry, I used the Blackbird and basically killed this creature by putting it so I like that they reference a lot of that stuff. And again, for those who are very familiar with it, following along, reading all the way up to this, like it's just a nice way to kind of look back at things and like, oh yeah, I remember that time, that was pretty crazy. Or for those who didn't read it, to be like, wait, what happened? Like there was an alien, and what issue was it? Like to kind of go back to something like that. So yeah, I like that.
Thank you, JP. If you are able to get to that place, I will consider this show a success. Oh my goodness. Moving right along, the big reveal is that this was a surprise birthday party for Kitty. They weren't just creeping on her, watching her get into her swimsuit. No, they were making sure she didn't stumble into the party room in the mansion where everybody gets a chode. I mean, Chad is there with everybody to say happy birthday to her. And everybody gets hugs, and she gets to kiss that guy who's much too old for her.
Epic mug.
And and there we go. Happy birthday to Kitty. Justin, how did you feel about the surprise at the end of this one?
All right, so you guys be honest with me. I did not know where this was going. I had no idea where this issue was going. And when it got to this point, I loved it. I was like, good. Oh, that's so great. Like, this is great. Because I'm thinking, like, all right, so you brushed, you talked a little bit about, Professor X, the bald head, you see, but I will tell you, it did not cross my mind at all that was Professor X. I legitimately was thinking, like, oh God, like what new villain is coming in now to ruin these girls' day? Like this, like they're they're just trying to show each other around and all this stuff. The rest of the X-Men are not around. This is not good. I just kept thinking of 143. So I'm like, well, I know what can happen when Kitty Pryde is alone in the mansion. Things go wrong. So I'm like, things are bound to go wrong here. There's, we've had other issues in the past where there's creepy guys on video watching things, spying and stuff like that. So
it's a classic villain move,
dude. So and mind you, I read these twice. First time around, read it digitally because I work, just kind of worked on my schedule. So I'm reading it digitally, and so the surprise that hits like legit was like it was really nice. Like I was like, had a smile on my face, like, oh, this is a great way. I had no idea that this was the direction it was going. So genuinely loved like. After we got to it, everything, it was great. Yep.
Somebody better tell Colossus she's a year older now. I thought she was turning 15 and not 14, but I don't know where we are anymore. So it's all
speaking of that, I'm a little disappointed in my man Wolverine here actually reading this panel. He's a little creepy behavior too.
Yeah, he is creepy.
Right?
I was like, wait a minute.
Gonna give us a kiss then, darling?
Yeah, right? You're gonna give us a kiss
with a cigar in hand.
Jesus Christ.
The cigar, I'm sure there's a beer in the other hand. We just can't see it.
Like, wow, okay.
Yeah. That is not Krakoa. That's Chad. Sorry.
Yeah, that's not Krakoa. No.
That is not Krakoa.
Are the rest of the Star Jammers? Oh yeah, I see Corsair.
Yeah, Corsair always in the same outfit.
It's funny because like
everyone else is in casual attire. He shows up in his friggin' costume.
But then there's Corsair.
Well, it's funny because he's like everything we've been reading so far. It's like every time we see Corsair, he just keeps talking about how, I'm leaving. I'm not staying here. It's not for me. Earth, I'm behind the years in Earth. I'm gonna be all. But yeah, he shows up to like all the parties.
Kitty Pryde's party.
The different. Yeah, he's like, well, I can stay a little longer.
It's so good. It's so true. He's always like, I am a traveler. I can't be here. I wander with the wind. I've got important things to be doing. Oh, there's cake.
Yeah, is there cake? Yeah, exactly. I guess I
the galactic visa had a couple extra days. I guess.
Right.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Candace says, ew, why is Corsair there? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so I'm just enjoying this. There you go.
That's a creepy Fu Manchu.
Yep. So that's the end of the issue there. It is not a terribly expensive issue. In fact, you can definitely find these. I ended up going back and finding a decent copy of this one. It was like, I don't know, $8 or something like that shipped. You can definitely find cheap copies of this if you don't want to pay the money for a giant size X-Men, but want to have a book that fills that space in your collection. This is a great way to snag that book. I think, although obviously I'm a classic size X-Men, a classic X-Men fan anyway, so you can certainly get stories that way. And I'm going to prove that to Daryl later. But I think this is a great alternative as well, as opposed to finding the facsimile or reprints or whatever.
Yeah.
For me, that's the same reason why I don't need a Hulk 181 reprint. I would rather get that great double-sized Wolverine look and Incredible Hulk issue that has 180, 181, and 182 all in one, and just read that and enjoy that.
Yeah, that's a good read.
Any final thoughts here on this particular production of the book before we get into some numbers and some facts on Giant Size X-Men?
I mean, I would just say for anyone who's never read that little short, 11 page, bit that we had just gone through, I highly recommend it. Anyone that's an X-Men fan, especially if you're a Kitty Pryde fan, if you're just here, you love X-Men for the same reasons we do. I think I think it's well worth just, and I mean, if you can find this issue, I know I own a copy somewhere, but I think it's definitely a nice issue to have in the PC for sure.
Right. Paul, any last thoughts for yourself here? Going back and reading GSX again this way?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it just brings back those memories of probably like I said, so I guess I've been corrected then. This was definitely, apparently, the first way I read this book, so this story. So, I mean, it just brings back, it's just all that same kind of, I mean, I don't know what kid back in the day wouldn't have been like all over this,
Well, it definitely itches
great comics.
It scratches the itch of like, I read these books and wanted to be there. I wanted to go to the mansion. I wanted to. So getting to tour it with Kitty and Ileana was kind of fun.
Yeah, and just in this format was cool. No ads, just straight. It's on the thick. I mean, $2. Although I guess I don't know what I paid. Probably this is not the original one I've had since like 40 years ago. But
mine definitely long since disappeared.
I don't know what happened to the OG one. I probably paid the couple bucks for it or whatever.
I bought it off a spinner rack. I'm willing to guarantee.
Yeah, I excuse me. I doubt I would have grabbed this off the rack, but I mean, I would have if I had seen it. But I just don't think this is 83.
Sure,
I was pretty early on in my collecting at that point, but. No, it's just a great format to read that story, and then plus, the little extra on the end, just to kind of, I mean, not that it really relates to any of the characters in Giant Size X-Men. Well, I guess Alania's technically in it, but it's just cool. The main, I just love all the rooms in the mansion. It's just a cool. I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy. I don't know if anyone plays video games.
Nice.
So you're breaking into other people's rooms now.
Love it.
Yeah, basically. A little invisibility, sneak in,
What house are you in, Paul? What house are you part of?
What is it? I'm not a big Harry Potter fan in any other way. So I think is it Griffin?
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
Yeah, Gryffindor.
Nice.
Justin.
But that game, what drew me to the game was almost that feeling of like, which is the same thing with Strange Academy. It was like a school or like a, university, something like that, with many, like a team living there, practice. I don't know, just that whole feeling, that whole dynamic was always cool to me.
Yep.
No, that's a great reference, because I honestly, since reading New Mutants when it first came out to now, Strange Academy is the first time that I've ever read a book and felt like I was back to that kid me, reading a book where I was like, oh, I want to go to that school. I want to be there. And oh my gosh, magic is your teacher? What? Voodoo's the headmaster? I'm in deep crap.
Definitely.
I love it. Let's see. Let's get into some of the math on Giant Size X-Men for those of you that really want to be traumatized by the cost of some of these books. This is the current pricing for Giant Size X-Men #1, first appearance of Storm, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Krakoa, John Proudstar, Ileana Rasputin. I probably missed some people. Fourth appearance of Wolverine, however you want to count that. And I went back and watched the episode that we did, Justin, where we reviewed Giant Size X-Men, our first episode, and I got the prices here.
Oh, nice.
I've got the prices of what that book was 2.5 years ago compared to now.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, let's buckle up, folks.
Oh, God.
So a 9.0 right now is a fair market value of about $5,750.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you this one to start us off. A 9.0 then $3,400. So nearly doubled the 9.0 value from then to now. And that includes the fact that our bubble has apparently popped on.
I was going to say, I think like probably a year or so ago it was probably almost double the 5,000.
Yes,
Right.
That is exactly the truth. If you had purchased this book last summer versus now, down.
Yeah,
but versus 2.5 years ago, doubled.
I did mine. That's what mine was, a 9.0 slab white page. So I remember when I was cracking it out, I was like, I wonder what the actual, just to see,
Sure.
And it was, I feel like at that point, because that was probably like a year or a year and a half ago, it was up there.
So. I'll take 2. There you go.
Yeah.
Sell a few houses and you'll be set.
Such a great book, man. No, it's totally worth it.
All right, so let's go up a little higher. A 9.4 right now is $8,000. Justin, can you take a stab at what it might have been a 9.4 when we read it?
I'm gonna go with the half mark and guess around 4K.
It is 4,500.
All right,
Nicely done.
Wow,
yeah,
crazy,
exciting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A 9.6 right now, $13,000. Anyone want to guess what a 9.6 was back then?
Oh, this probably leaped.
10.
I'm gonna give it to Cali Comics. It was $6,000, Cali.
Oh, okay.
I think you were talking about the 9.4, but either way, it's still works.
Oh, I thought the 9.6. I was gonna be like, wow.
This is the
really
9.6. Yeah,
the 9.6
was $6,000,
wow,
and now it's 13.
Holy smokes!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So drum roll, we have hit 9.8. 9.8 is currently a $35,000 fair market book. What was a 9.8 worth then?
Like 25, maybe 25,000.
I know at one point, I think a 9.8 of
Did it
this
reach
book
there?
sold for like $60,000. So somebody took a big loss along the way somewhere.
Right?
Oh,
When they
I don't know,
bought it
about
last
2
summer.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like huge money.
Yeah.
jeez.
A 9.8 was a little lower than you, Cal. It was $15,000. So that book has doubled, and then another 5,000 on top of that.
So if you get in at that point, you were good. But if you waited till last year, you're going to lose your shorts.
Yeah.
I hope you really,
if you're wrapped up in the value of the book exclusively, right?
Right.
Well, I have to assume you are if you're buying a 9.8 slab. If you just really wanted like a high grade, nice copy of the book, you could buy a raw copy and save yourself a lot of money. But
And that's what I did.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Mine was raw when I bought it for sure.
yeah, that
Mine's
one
like
you
a
bought,
7.
Justin's. Yeah, yours is beautiful. I wanted to Zap. Is that where you
Right?
got that from?
Yeah, I got it from Zap. They had it for about a 7.0.
Yeah, that's really sharp.
Yep, I was all about it for the corners and the square bound and the color, the white, that all.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, if I'm gonna own this book, it has to present well. Like it has to have its color. I've seen faded ones and things like that. I mean,
yeah, being a white cover, you'll see some crusty ones sometimes. So, to get one that's like really white is
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
bad
beautiful.
boy up one more time. Yeah, even the yellows and the reds, from Colossus.
Oh,
and
sorry, let
Wolverine,
me blow it up.
All that stuff really pops too.
For sure.
Beauteous. Look at that cover.
Even the spine is nice,
which is the hardest part. That square bound, which I know that that Paul mentioned earlier. The square bound. Those books take such a beating. I got a whole slew of some of those like. First John Stewart, first Guy Gardner. Some of those are those giant, thick-sized books, and the spines just shred on those.
Mm.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, that is it. That is it on the slideshow. We have reached the end.
Nice.
I'm going to stop sharing that. And hey, look, we're full size again. Good to see everybody. we've reached the end. We've done our little discussion. Do we want to give this one a grade? Justin, run around and quickly give. We didn't really do that. It doesn't really qualify the same way. I don't know.
Yeah, it's right. I think I'll just talk about it from like a experience standpoint and the way it made me feel, the entertainment that I had from it. I'm going to put this up there. It's about a 9.4 for me. It really made me I don't know. I just appreciated again, maybe my mind was like maybe too into it, and that's what the reader or what the writer wants, right? Is to just really be in depth with the story. So I wasn't really trying to speculate or guess what was about to happen, but when I got the surprise and everything else, it really caught me off guard, and I was just like, man, this is really nice. Like
along for the ride, right?
It's a nice little story, like
awesome.
for someone like Kitty, especially. Like we love Kitty, so I think
that's been a lot of this omnibus has been Kitty, right? Really getting into her life.
True. Yep.
But what about you? How does this one stack up for you?
I mean, anything with GSX1 in it is a 10. But even the backup's cool. I'll give the backup even like a 9, because like I said, I love just the, it's a story, but it's more or less just trying to show you the mansion and the rooms and all that. It's cool. And in a birthday in comics, not something they usually do, and put an age to it. Usually just some vague, we had it because obviously we understand that you can't age the characters out too much, but. Right. So to actually have her
age her a little faster, but they didn't.
Yeah, her we need to age a little.
Well, I'm guessing we don't want Kate Pride from Days of Future Past.
We just want her not to have to be jail bait for Peter.
Still past her prime, but somewhere in the middle would be okay. But it's great. The cover's cool. I mean, it's an original. For this issue, the cover was an original Cockrum cover.
Yeah.
Even though. So and being able to read it and kind of have it in this format with a little the paper, I guess, soaking in the colors a little bit. I just feel like it just looks cool compared to like the OG. So
no, I'm definitely with you guys. As far as a read, it's giant size X-Men. It's a very entertaining book. You're not really losing out. And then despite silliness in the backup story, I think it's teens, and I live with 2 young teenagers. This is very in keeping with the experience. Sadly, no subterranean trains in our house, but this is a lot of fun. And I think as an X-Men fan, I can see this not only just being entertaining, but certainly as a great tool for some new kid who hasn't read X-Men before, sees that on the shelf, and then that now hooks them into the series. So I'm with you guys. 9.4, 9.6. Like, this is just a good, fun X-Men book all day. So,
absolutely.
We have now reached the trivia portion of our show. We're running on time-ish for ourselves, considering how much we had to cover here. Then a huge thank you, Paul, for you joining and moving. When I looked at what this book was in our omnibus, it felt like a really great opportunity to talk about an iconic X book, and I was like, who is the guy that could do this justice? So I appreciate you making the time to do this, man.
Yep.
All right. Absolutely. So we have trivia questions based on last week's show over on Justin's channel and last book that we read. The goal in the chat is to type in the correct answer. Sometimes we're looking for spelling. So make sure that you're on your game in the chat. If you think you see the correct answer, you can copy and paste, because we want 2 correct answers. And we also want something very funny, and Paul's going to help us here pick the funniest answer in each round so that 3 of you get on the wheel for every one of our questions tonight. Justin, you want to kick us off, man?
Yeah. So my first question, get your keyboards ready here. I will say the answer I'm looking for, it needs to be in the same comment that you put in the chat. So it's got to be a one-time, type it out and post it. What did Wolverine and Storm say when Cyclops asked if there were any objections to his plan to fight to preserve life? When they talked about how important it was, they were initially standing over the body of what looked to be the Brood / Professor X. Like, do we kill him? Do we not? And at first he was all for it, and then he switched out of nowhere. He said, "No, we're not doing this. We're gonna fight to preserve life anytime we could." And he says, "Is there any objections?" There were 2 things that were said there. What was said as a response to
And
when
you
he
need it
said,
all in one answer typed in together.
yes,
Right.
yeah.
So you can't type one person's thing and then type
Right.
the other person's thing.
Storm and
said one
Wolverine.
thing and Wolverine said one thing.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to clarify who said what, but just
Right.
type out both of their responses in one answer.
I
That's what
think
we're
they're
looking
both in there, but does the order that you write them matter?
for. The order does not matter.
Okay, so then I see both already because you got right.
Yep.
Magic Lasso getting it with the first one that I see, and then
yeah,
William
his first one.
Bird.
Yep. Nice. All right. Yep.
William Bird. Yeah.
I
Storm
see Chet
says
wrote
none,
lots.
and
shit.
Wolverine says lots.
Chet just wrote lots.
So here's I appreciate that. So somebody said Cyclops, you're an idiot, and apparently didn't know that it's apostrophe RE. You're an idiot. Somebody said, "What you talking about, Willis?" Cyclops, you fill. And lots.
What?
I think you meant fool. OOL. How dare you? There it is. Cyclops, you
there it is.
fool. Yeah. Yes. Storm said, "You're right,"
nice.
and Wolverine said, "Sorry, I yelled." I don't think that's accurate, Bobby. I don't think that's. Somebody said nuts, and somebody said lawn. All right.
So random.
Somebody said, "I hate that." No, that's just Chet.
I love it.
This. Sorry.
Yeah.
Somebody said double stuff, and somebody else said Oreos.
There you go.
Your opinion doesn't matter, loser. Wow. I'm assuming that that's what Wolverine said and not what Storm said.
Yeah. Wolverine added the loser part.
Paul, are there any of those that we should be keeping here as the point winner?
As the funniest one?
Let's see.
You guys are hilarious.
I mean, your opinion doesn't matter. Loser is pretty. I mean, that's tough.
It's cold.
That's tough.
Pretty in your face. Love it.
See what you talking about, Willis? Pretty good one too.
You want to go to Cali?
Yeah, let's go with. I was a big fan of Mr. Drummond and what you're talking about, Willis.
All right,
I feel bad for most of the actors on that show had a pretty tough life afterwards.
They did. My God, yeah. Holy cow. All right, Callie, you got another point there on the overall. Okay, my question is this. And there's a lot of ways to say this, so I'm curious to see how people explain it. How did our X-Men greet all the New Mutants that were at the mansion when they came together for the first time? The New Mutants meeting the new X-Men team. How did the new X-Men team greet them? It's a big part of the issue. The meeting of these two superhero teams, or the teachers who are going to be teaching these kids. I don't know how you define it, but how do they greet each other? I mean, yeah, I guess these are both correct. Yeah, they busted through while they were watching TV. It is very factual. Magic Lasso, actually true. And with a brawl, I mean, that's not wrong, Chet. So I'm gonna have to give you a point, I guess.
Wow, he spelled everything right.
Callie says they waited out front of the mansion. They just waited. They waited. Xavier creepily watched them from the shadows. I mean, that's actually true.
He probably did.
Yeah, he probably did.
Welcome them with a broken wall. I mean, this is true also. And I missed Adam. Sorry. They crashed the TV party. They did. They're watching Magnum. Yeah. They were actually watching Magnum. They all wore Diana Ross wigs. That's one way to do it. AAA fresh meat. The barbecue? They're barbecuing.
Wow.
They said nanu. I get it. This is a fact. They greeted them with a can of whoop-ass from the seniors team. The varsity team definitely came in with a can of whoop-ass. There you go.
Yep.
Frails and sandwiches for everyone. You did tell me Magnum PI. You did tell me.
They did.
All right, Paul, you got a favorite in there?
Let's see.
They did put up a decent fight, I have to say.
I thought so.
Yeah,
They tried.
I mean,
They're
Cannonball.
They're just kids, man.
He took the losses out for a ride. He
They
was,
did.
They were,
Yeah.
they were gone.
Only because it seemed to be kind of a theme. Xavier creepily watched them from the shadows.
Yeah.
JP knows his audience. He's playing. Yeah. He's playing the audience well. Smart guy. All right, Justin. Last question from you, sir.
All right. My other one is what was upsetting Nightcrawler about the New Mutants? When all we see the New Mutants here, there's a bit of an engagement, and later on, Nightcrawler's kind of feeling a certain way, and he's upset. What was it that was upsetting him that had to do with the New Mutants?
A lot of options there.
A lot of options.
I like how open-ended this one was.
Yes,
in a lot of ways. A lot of options.
Let's see.
The wigs were my favorite, says Callie. So now Ryan knows who to play to when you're ever on this show. He's going to be playing to you. Yeah. Expect more Diana Ross comedy, if that's even possible.
I still like the Frails and Sandwiches answer. That's great. Frails and Sandwiches for everyone. Let's see.
We're still waiting on 2 correct answers.
Man.
There it is. Okay.
I see 2. Okay.
So I already gave Candace her point because Candace was right.
She was yep, spot on, Candace.
Chet Scotland, damn it.
Yep.
Always. He's unstoppable.
Spelled it right again. Damn.
I have no clue how to read this one. It says none of them were blue. Obindi. Oh. I mean, I don't know what he's saying there, but I get it. All right. You got it. Luckily, kids didn't have to take orders from Cyclops. I mean, that's good.
Maybe it's the blue. What's that song he's singing? That's what it is. Blue Abu Dai. That song? No.
Sure. Okay. They were watching TV instead of reading their Bibles. Sinners.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler is a man of faith.
Yeah. They were upset that he didn't have pupils. Just those glowing yellow eyes.
It's true.
Take me to church.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They're upset because Sunspot was sitting in his chair and drinking that last Mountain Dew. He was stuck with only Canadian beer in the fridge.
That's mine.
Exciting. He was trying to reach them to see about their parents' car's expanded warranty.
Love the details.
Callie says, "Oh, that was the wrong song." Damn.
Yeah.
Watching TV instead of their Bibles. Yeah, lots of religion with that Nightcrawler. Got a favorite there, Paul?
There has to be something related to that. So let's see. I thought I saw someone else kind of put it. You know what? We'll go with the car's extended warranty.
Nice.
Where is it? We got Lasso. Ryan. There it is, Ryan. Coming in strong today.
Yeah, I love the detail on that. That's good.
He bamfed in their faces, says Candace. That's so wrong. All right. The last one has to do with what I said. So if you watched the episode, there's only 9 people in the chat. So you guys who watched the episode, hopefully were there. I was a little frustrated with the issue because I wanted something to happen in the issue that didn't happen. What was it that I wanted to have happen in last issue that I was frustrated didn't play out? This you could probably guess, knowing me, but you could definitely go a lot of way with this. What was it that irked me about issue 167?
A lot of opportunity here. For
a chance to take some shots at John.
Yeah.
Nobody asked if he could run fast in his new shoes. I mean, I always have those. Those are the toughest days. Those are the toughest days. So the comedy is already happening. Storm wasn't naked. That is heartbreaking. Yeah. Storm needed to take a shower. Storm had no skin scene. So there's definitely a theme going here.
Yeah.
I was upset that Corsair didn't go back home.
Candace. She
I
can't.
mean, I definitely was. That these are all so far. You're saying true things.
True. Yeah.
These are very true things. Let's say you wanted Reed and Sue to be stirring the spaghetti sauce when Lilandra went to visit them.
Yeah, that was such a
That was awkward.
random.
Cyclops to die permanently. No, that's what you wanted. Yeah, you're right. That's what you wanted. That's not what I wanted. Let's see here. So I don't know what William Bird says. The cover. I just hated the cover. I really didn't like the cover. I mean, he's not off.
Yeah.
So far, I see one correct answer. I'm going with Dicey too.
One.
So Adam, they did not kill and bury Professor Xavier in the issue, despite having Cyclops on the cover carrying him away like he died.
Did not match.
So Adam, you just got on the wheel, buddy.
Nice.
That was your first time on the wheel. Adam makes stuff up. Welcome in.
Burying Xavier in the backyard.
And then we got Bobby.
Hey,
Bobby
nice
Legato. Yeah. They should have killed his ass. He's dead on the cover when dead in the issue. He's still going. Let's see here. They only showed Storm's butt covered. I mean, that's fair. You wanted Xavier to choose between his Earth wife and Space wife. He has an Earth wife? Moira?
Is that about Moira, I guess? Maybe, yeah.
Sue didn't turn invisible when her bro and thing came in. I mean, that is very upsetting. She can turn invisible and she's butt naked and her brother bursts in the room and she just doesn't. She chooses to stay corporeal. That's a problem. That is awkward.
Yeah.
Yes, it is
awkward.
It is a false advertisement, and we're not gonna deal with it. Let me see what are we showing off here. Yeah, there she is.
The walk-in,
getting her freaky time with Reed, and her brother just runs in his tidy whities, and it's all good. It's all good in the hood, apparently. So that is it, folks. That is it. Make sure you've subscribed for Justin's channel because we're over there on his channel next week reading the annual involving Storm and the return of Dracula, who was a character from earlier in the season that in an issue that we all really, really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Paul, thank you so much, man. This is exactly what I wanted from this discussion, man.
Yep.
No, this was awesome, man. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. I gotta get me one of those hats too, by the way. I don't know where you got that, but
Amazon, I think, actually.
Oh yeah, okay.
I was actually just checking earlier today, looking to order a new Yankee hat. So
oh man, get on it, man. Dude, just get one at the stadium. Let's meet up for a game and we'll get one at the
absolutely,
stadium.
definitely,
man.
So next episode, Justin and I are both going to be wearing X-Men hats. You just be ready, folks.
Yeah.
Actual Dracula, Bobby, not that actual Dracula. So thanks everybody for coming. Dracula. We'll be back on Justin's channel in a week. And until then, take it easy, everybody. Thank you.
Later, guys.